Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 3, Book 39, number 523. Narrated by Amra. I said to Tawus, I wish you would give up mukabara, sharecropping, for the people say that the Prophet forbade it. On that Tawus replied, O Amra, I give the land to sharecroppers and help them. No doubt. The most learned man, namely Ibn Abbas, told me that the Prophet had not forbidden it but said, it is more beneficial for one to give his land free to one's brother than to charge him a fixed rental. Volume 3, Book 39, number 524. Narrated by Ibn Umar. Allah's apostle gave the land of Khaybar to the Jews on the condition that they work on it and cultivate it, and be given half of its yield. Volume 3, Book 39, number 525. Narrated by Rafi. We worked on farms more than anybody else in Medina. We used to rent the land and say to the owner, the yield of this portion is for us and the yield of that portion is for you, as the rent. One of those portions might yield something and the other might not. So, the Prophet forbade us to do so. Volume 3, Book 39, number 526. Narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. The Prophet said, while 3 men were walking, it started raining and they took shelter, refuge, in a cave in a mountain. A big rock rolled down from the mountain and closed the mouth of the cave. They said to each other, think of good deeds which you did for Allah's sake only, and invoke Allah by giving reference to those deeds so that He may remove this rock from you. One of them said, O Allah, I had old parents and small children and I used to graze the sheep for them. On my return to them in the evening, I used to milk the sheep and start providing my parents first of all before my children. One day I was delayed and came late at night and found my parents sleeping. I milked the sheep, as usual, and stood by their heads. I hated to wake them up and disliked to give milk to my children before them, although my children were weeping, because of hunger, at my feet till the day dawned. O Allah, if I did this for your sake only, kindly remove the rock so that we could see the sky through it. So, Allah removed the rock a little and they saw the sky. The second man said, O Allah, I was in love with a cousin of mine like the deepest love a man may have for a woman. I wanted to outrage her chastity, but she refused unless I gave her 100 dinars. So, I struggled to collect that amount. And when I sat between her legs, she said, O Allah's slave, be afraid of Allah and do not deflower me except rightfully, by marriage. So, I got up. O Allah, if I did it for your sake only, please remove the rock. The rock shifted a little more. Then the third man said, O Allah, I employed a laborer for a farak of rice and when he finished his job and demanded his right, I presented it to him, but he refused to take it. So, I sowed the rice many times till I gathered cows and their shepherd, from the yield. Then after some time, he came and said to me, fear Allah, and give me my right. I said, go and take those cows and the shepherd. He said, be afraid of Allah. Don't mock at me. I said, I am not mocking at you. Take all that. So, he took all that. O Allah, if I did that for your sake only, please remove the rest of the rock. So, Allah removed the rock. Volume 3, Book 39, number 527. Narrated by Zayd bin Aslam from his father. Umar said, but for the future Muslim generations, I would have distributed the land of the villages I conquer among the soldiers as the Prophet distributed the land of Khaybar. Volume 3, Book 39, number 528. Narrated by Aisha. The Prophet said, he who cultivates land that does not belong to anybody is more rightful to own it. Urwa said, Umar gave the same verdict in his caliphate. Volume 3, Book 39, number 529. Narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. While the Prophet was passing the night at his place of rest in Dhul Hulayfa in the bottom of the valley of Akik, he saw a dream, and it was said to him, "You are in a blessed valley." Musa said, "Salim, let our camels kneel at the place where Abdullah used to make his camel kneel, seeking the place where Allah's apostle used to take a rest, which is situated below the mosque, which is in the bottom of the valley. It is midway between the mosque and the road." Volume 3, Book 39, number 530. Narrated by Umar. While the Prophet was in Al-Akik, he said, "Someone, meaning Gabriel, came to me from my Lord tonight, in my dream, and said, 'Offer the prayer in this blessed valley and say, I intend to perform Umrah along with Hajj, together.'" Volume 3, Book 39, number 531. Narrated by Ibn Umar. Umar expelled the Jews and the Christians from Hijaz. When Allah's apostle had conquered Khaybar, he wanted to expel the Jews from it, as its land became the property of Allah, his apostle, and the Muslims. Allah's apostle intended to expel the Jews, but they requested him to let them stay there, on the condition that they would do the labor and get half of the fruits. Allah's apostle told them, "We will let you stay on thus condition, as long as we wish." So, they, i.e. Jews, kept on living there until Umar forced them to go towards Timah and Ariha. Volume 3, Book 39, number 532. Narrated by Rafi bin Khadij. My uncle Zuhair said, Allah's apostle forbade us to do a thing which was a source of help to us. I said, "Whatever Allah's apostle said was right." He said, "Allah's apostle sent for me and asked, 'What are you doing with your farms?' I replied, 'We give our farms on rent on the basis that we get the yield produced at the banks of the water streams, rivers, for the rent, or rent it for some wasques of barley and dates.' Allah's apostle said, 'Do not do so, but cultivate the land yourselves, or let it be cultivated by others gratis, or keep it uncultivated.' I said, 'We hear and obey.'" Volume 3, Book 39, number 533. Narrated by Jabir. The people used to rent their land for cultivation for 1/3, 1/4 or half its yield. The Prophet said, "Whoever has land should cultivate it himself or give it to his Muslim brother gratis, otherwise keep it uncultivated." Narrated Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, "Whoever has land should cultivate it himself or give it to his Muslim brother gratis, otherwise he should keep it uncultivated." Volume 3, Book 39, number 534. Narrated by Amra. When I mentioned it, i.e. the narration of Rafi bin Khadij, number 532, to Tawus, he said, "It is permissible to rent the land for cultivation," for Ibn Abbas said, "The Prophet did not forbid that, but said, one had better give the land to one's brother gratis rather than charge a certain amount for it." Volume 3, Book 39, number 535. Narrated by Nafi. Ibn Umar used to rent his farms in the time of Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and in the early days of Muawiyah. Then he was told the narration of Rafi bin Khadij that the Prophet had forbidden the renting of farms. Ibn Umar went to Rafi, and I accompanied him. He asked Rafi, who replied that the Prophet had forbidden the renting of farms. Ibn Umar said, "You know that we used to rent our farms in the lifetime of Allah's apostle for the yield of the banks of the water streams, rivers, and for certain amount of figs.